Okay, welcome everyone to the session for introduction to Flutter or the upcoming sessions related to Flutter Web or Flutter Mobile SDK platform. So today we are here at OctaHackathon, so OctaHacks, and we'll be presenting with on the behalf of Flutter Chennai and Flutter Chandigarh. These are the communities which have been established under the common domain of Flutter India. Flutter India is mainly the community which handles all the events that are happening across India regarding Flutter. Recently, we had one of the greatest event being conducted, which was known as DevFest. You might all have heard about it. So that's it. As of now, we have created our Discord community. So at the end of this meet, we'll post these links in the description, so you can get access to these Discord communities and or the Slack channel to them. So you can just join them, and we'll be mostly active on Discord. So if you have any issues or any problems regarding Flutter, so we can go ahead with that. So basically my introduction to Flutter was done through a GDG. So basically, a GDG is a Google Developer Meet, which is happening all over the world. This time it was virtual. So last time I had gone to a GDG Bangalore, where it was released on a beta version of it, and there we were introduced to Flutter, but it wasn't that stable at that moment, so people didn't grasp easily. Basically, it's a mobile SDK platform where you can make Android and iOS apps both together. So that's a big advantage on their end. And with Flutter, you can make app nowadays. We can make apps, websites, anything which you want. It's coming to all platforms. Like now, it's currently being in beta mode for releasing the web app, like the web applications which we see. Like suppose we use Zoom app or any of the apps which are present on your laptop. So they are currently working on the upbringing of this. So let's start the session with basic introduction to Flutter. So basically, what is Flutter? It is basically a tool which is a cross-platform app for making both iOS and Android apps. So the biggest advantage over any other app is currently it gives you consistent UI over both the platforms. Like suppose if you're using an app in an Android device or using an app in iOS device, it will give the same functions, same animations, same features, and you have to just write one single code base for it. So it has one of the biggest two advantages. It provides you the given SDK kit and the widget library. So widget library is the key for making any Flutter app. So you can refer the documentation to Flutter, and you can make any of these widget libraries, any of the specific icon you need for making a particular app or any website. So this is basically the basics of making a particular app or website. So you can refer to the documentation of that, which is available on the internet anywhere. Okay, so that's the basic. Then what is the advantage of Flutter? So basically, it gives you a modern rendered reactive framework. So it's currently new to the uh, uh, app development. mm, App Development Society, because previously React has been established a long time ago. Same goes with Java. So these both are very old kind of stuff, but Flutter has introduced, which is recently introduced. It provides you modern reactive framework, and it gives you fast rendering. So suppose if you are having any low end device like suppose if you are running an i3 processor or an i5 processor, still Flutter can run your device. It requires only VS Code as a specific basic entity, but yes, for making an AVD device, uh, you need Android Studio. But if you are running on device, you can use a mobile device to connect to that, and it will run perfectly fine with it. Okay, so it is made by Google and it has a back. It is also backed by Google. So if any updates or any problems faced during Flutter while making an app, you can publish it on their community. They're always ready to help you if you mention that in any issue of GitHub, or you can ask us on our Discord or our Flutter community at India. So they'll be ready to help you with all the problems that you're facing, as well as we have many YouTubers helping us with this. So one of the YouTubers will be having us today. Like we'll have Ishan, we'll have Himanshu speaking up, we have Shankar after that. So we can go ahead with them. So they'll tell you about all of this. It's open source and anybody can use. So and single code base for both Android and iOS. So it provides you a unique feature of hot reload. This is basically you can whenever you make a small change to a particular code base, it will automatically render that specific element and give you the required output. So, like suppose if you change the color from blue to red, on the spot you press Control S and the it completely renders the whole thing in your mobile as soon as it's done. So that's the biggest advantage of Flutter. None of the other platforms provide this because they take really long time, because having two code bases and handling this all so fast, it can't happen really fast. So that's the issue on their end. But Flutter gives you a single render UI, so it can run both on iOS and Android very easily. Why did they build Flutter? There were other frameworks also. Why should we choose Flutter over any of the other frameworks? So basically, the major issue that they faced during this platform was, so basically, whenever you see different apps in society, there is different UI in all of them. If you use an Android app, you use an iOS app, there is far distinct features present. Like if you can see the UI of Zomato, you can see the iOS and the Android app. They differ very much in their UI case studies. So you can see that Zomato app in iOS is really very efficient. It doesn't give time reload feature or any of the problems regarding this. But in Android, it will have some issue of delay of 10 to 2 seconds because there's a much higher load on their end. So that because of that, they have very high problems regarding the UI. With Flutter, you can solve this issue with having only a single code base and which will have same UI on both of these ends. So feel free to ask any doubts in comments. We'll take them at the end of this session. Okay. Then it also provides better UI experience. So one of the best feature for this is you can make a design in XD, and the same design of XD can be seen directly converted to code with the extension from XD to Flutter to direct Flutter code. So that's the biggest advantage. We can cover this in next upcoming sessions, but yes, that's one of the biggest advantage. If you are a UX designer and you want to learn, you want to try learning coding regarding mobile apps, you can go ahead with Flutter because you can directly get the code output for that particular screen if you make, and all the components will be exported directly, so you don't have to worry about anything. Then it gives you beautiful designs. Then it has great performance. So performance is basically because it gives you a single code base to run everything. So of course it will have a great performance during runtime as well as execution time. So you can get it both time. So suppose if you deploy the app, it will still be the same as you run it on your local machine. So nothing will change with respect to the performance on both ends, and it will give you higher GPU acceleration and for fast consistent UI across all devices. So basically, GPU acceleration is provided from their end. So if your laptop is really good enough, which is having around i5 processor, so you can get the render very fast. But if you're running on i3, it will be little bit slow. So I don't know if GPU acceleration is provided in acceleration below i3. So that's a disadvantage on their end. But yes, there's high velocity deployment. So the biggest advantage is it's a very simple code base. So everything in Flutter is actually a widget. So with widgets, you just have to write 2 or 3 lines of code and you get a particular icon or a component which you need. Suppose if you need a button, you just write raised icon button, and every code base will help you with that. And you have IntelliSense available in VS Code as well as in Android Studio. So with both of them, your code, with just writing 2 or 3 lines of code, you can get the output done. So this is one of the video. So I'll just show you. So suppose whenever you compile the code, it gets into bytes and bits, which we normally know, and these bytes and bits go into a particular mobile app, and it gets rendered really fast. So this is the advantage of using this. So it just works really fast with bytes and bits. Normally, the other frameworks like Java or React, they convert it into a low-level language, then to zeros and ones. So Flutter has an advantage that you just write the code, it converts it into zeros and one, and directly compiles it. That's why it's faster than other frameworks that are present here. So yes, so basically this is just for information. You don't have to learn this. So basically, With Flutter, we have this. This is the basic engine of Flutter, and this is the framework that we are using. So the engine basically present here is text, Dart, or Skia. So Skia is one of the fastest engines that's present in C++. So none of the frameworks currently are working on Skia. Only the game development cycle that we have seen, the earlier games that were made in laptop, Minecraft based games, they were made on Skia. That's why they were really fast. But after that, nobody had backed up Skia. So Google took up the opportunity and backed up Skia and made the render engine for Flutter with this. And basically, these are the basic components which are present here. Main feature is widgets, and rest of this is Material UI. You must have all heard about Material UI. Material UI is basically the UI which is followed by Google. Everything that you see made by Google, it follows a Material UI. So you see Google bar, you have the circular ends at the end. You see the mail icon, there's a compose button. Everything that's present by Google, which looks very good in our eyes and feels really great, that's made by Google as Material UI. So that's the basic part of it. Animation, rendering, painting, gestures, foundation, these all are handled automatically by Flutter. So you don't have to worry about this. The only three things that mainly main focus takes place: material, operator, and widgets. That generally takes place. So Flutter application basically has a widget tree, and we render that widget tree and we get a canvas and event. So suppose whenever we see any app, whenever we see any mobile app, so basically in any mobile app you surf on internet, you can find you'll just see the UI. First, you'll see the black screen that's present there. So the black screen is the loading part of it, as the time when it takes to render the specific application, and the widget tree is rendered at that particular time. And as soon as it's present, then we'll see a black screen, the background of it. That's the canvas. And as soon as we load it, the events come one by one to that specific place. So why Dart? Dart is an object-oriented language, and that's why we use Dart for it. So Flutter works basically on the programming language that's present is Dart. So Dart is a really new language. So it's similar to C, Java, or Swift. If you have learned any of them, then it will be really easy to pick up for you. But if you haven't learned, that's also okay. You can learn Dart really easily. It's almost same as any object-oriented language that's present on internet. So, but if you want to start Flutter with basics, you just try learning Dart. That's best. And one of the best YouTuber that's present there is MTech Viral. You can go ahead with him. So it provides you two of these things, JIT and ahead of time compilation. So the advantages of JIT and ahead of time compilation is JIT is you can just write a particular code and it allows you hot reload. So that's JIT. And ahead of time is suppose if you write a particular code, it automatically starts rendering it beforehand, even if you don't press Control S or if you don't hot reload it. So that's the advantage of Flutter compiler. So So I'll just tell you the advantage that how hot reload works. So specifically, like suppose if you write 3 or 4 lines of code, it automatically fast renders it. So this I'll show you the hot reload feature. So so suppose so Yeah, so suppose if you change the color, you can see the color changes from purple. So as soon as we change the color from purple, so the hot reload feature automatically renders it so fast. So these features are not available in any of the other language. So this was hot reload. You will see this process once you go into the diving of real time session. So yes, and why it is best because it provides you good performance during development and production, which I've already mentioned. So everywhere the performance that is provided here is very good, and that's why we prefer Flutter over any of the other platforms. So basically, the last part which we are covering is widget. Everything in Flutter is a widget. We'll learn about this soon. So there are basically two widgets: stateful and stateless widgets. So stateless widgets are widgets which don't change during the whole execution of app. So suppose if you have an about us section or a text section, and that won't change during the whole time. So we will have them in stateless widget, and if a stateful widget is particular component, whenever we click it, it will change. So we have any animation that is present, or suppose if we click a button on a specific cases, then that will come in stateful widget. So basically they are very easy to understand. So understand this as a function kind of thing, stateful widget as a function kind of thing, and status widget as specifically a thing which will be stable during the whole execution of a particular app. So that's the basic, and that's the end of the session. So if you have any doubts, just post them in the comment section. We'll handle all of them.
Hello everyone. This is Imam Sharma from Flutter Chandigarh. So, a quick introduction of myself. I am the organizer of Flutter Chandigarh. I'm a part of Microsoft Learning Ambassador. I'm a part of IEEE-CIET and also a writer. You can search me on Medium Art and other Dev2.2. Okay, so first of all, let's see some questions right here. So,
Okay.
first, I think someone already sorted the question of Pratyaksh Sani, I think. Yeah. You can
Yeah.
use VS Code.
Okay. Is there any way I can use Flutter without Android Studio? And what
Yeah,
kind of
it's
other apps will I need to replace Android Studio? Yes. So basically, no problem with Android. If you don't have Android Studio, that's perfectly fine. You just need VS Code for that, and that's a really small app. I think it's around 20 MB, not more than that, and you can use anything with that. So that can work with it. But initially, whenever we start working with Flutter, we advise everyone to use Android Studio. Once you have installed Flutter using Android Studio, you can go ahead with VS Code. You can uninstall Android Studio after that. But initial installation is better to do with Android Studio. Still, if you don't have it, VS Code is perfectly fine. But you can't
yeah.
create a AVD device. That's AVD device is basically a virtual device to run on a screen.
Okay, so I
So
will show you like how we can create an app on Flutter. So I will proceed from right here because at the end of the session, like we are short time a little bit, so we
sure,
can just wrap up all the question at the end of the session. So I will start showing my screen first of all.
sure, sure.
So I guess my screen is visible. Is not.
No, nothing else. No.
Okay, so is it visible?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's loading.
Okay, so basically you all can install or download the Android Studio from right here. So it's a quite a large app. So you should take your time after the stream or later on. If you already have one, so then we are good to go. After that, if you are like a really like a beginner, so you can just check right here for installing how to you can install a Flutter and how you can work upon it. So basically, the time of installing and setting up the SDK part and also creating a AVD might take up some time. So I will proceed with the VS Code part. So first of all, if you have already sorry for that. First of all, if you have already created your virtual device like this, so this is will be a virtual device. So if you have already created a virtual device and you have already set up your Android Studio and you have already done your Flutter Doctor is or everything is okay, then you will see this type of file after creating your project. So whenever you create a project, so first of all, in VS Code, you can create the project by pressing F1 and create new project and mention the project name and press enter and choose the respective directory of your device. After that, it will automatically create all these files. Okay, and later on we can work upon it. So main file right here to work upon create the UI and all the stuff is lib. So lib contains main.dart. This is the main file of our application. And after creating the application, this will be your default file. So the main.dart file will look like this. Okay. So first of all, let me explain a few things. So what is material.dart? So material.dart is like it will add all the material widgets or features in the SDK, like dialog, alert dialog, snack bar, autos, anything else. It material.dart covers every material you have in the SDK. So first of all, we have main. Main is like the root of our application. It will start the code. Then we have runapp. Runapp, what will runapp do? Runapp will attach this myapp class. So it is a class myapp. It will attach to the engine and then display it in your mobile. So currently, if I restart the application, it will look like this. So if I okay, so this is currently a stateless. So run app have my app class. My app class is a stateless widget, and stateless is as mentioned by Anush. Stateless widget cannot change dynamically in the whole execution of the app. Then we have the material app. Also, first of all, we have the build method. So build method is already present in the material.dart file. Okay, so we have to override this file to create our UI. So that is why we have to override the build dot method every time we have every time then we have to create a UI. So after the build method, we have to return a type of widget. So build method has a type of widget. So we have to return a class which is having a type of widget. So we have material app class. So if you hover over it, you can see various type of features and properties. So what is material app class? So this is basically a class which attach the material UI to the application. So as mentioned by Anush, Google follows the material UI. So if you are creating a application with design similar to material UI, then you can use the material app right in the root of your application. Then we have the title. You can just use anything like the title of your application. Then we have theme. You can define various type of theme right here. Okay, that currently is primary search color is blue, so that is why we are seeing the color blue. Then we have the home property. So after material app, so material app is already here. So we have set up the material UI. Like we like in this application we will have the material app UI. So after that we have to attach another class to display all the content in the uh, screen. So my home page. So my home page is another class in which all these things that you are seeing is already present in this class. So default when you get the application, it will be present there. So it is a stateful widget, because if we tap on this uh, floating action button, to tap on it, it will change dynamically. So for that we need stateful widget, because it will change the state dynamically if you press on something. So it will change according to us. So first of all, today we will create the recipe app. I will cover up the UI part, and Sanskar will cover up the backend part, like fetching the like getting the API and then showing the data and all. So first of all, let's remove the my homepage whole class. Okay, so if we remove this, okay, so now we are facing the issue of like my homepage is not present here. So apart from this, we will remove it. Then we will have, okay, so we have a class type home. So we have another class home. So home is not present here, right here. So if you want to create another class, a new class, custom class, you can just type stl, and it will just show us that Flutter checklist widget. So we can just enter on it, and it will show, it will build everything. Like it has already override the build method, and already it extends already status widget. We don't have to write anything, so just name the class, and now we are good to go. So if we, okay, so now it is a blank screen because nothing is present inside the container. So if I color, suppose so container is another widget. Now you can say another class which will display a container. So currently the screen is black because the whole container is like present over here, and nothing is inside the container. So if I tap color or colors dot pink, so colors is another, okay, yeah, colors is another widget. This is also a widget which will have different colors in it. So this is how you can add a color to a container. So if you hover over the container, you can see a lot of different parameters. If I drag it right here and hover over it, so you can see a lot of different containers. Oh, sorry, a lot of different properties of this container. Okay, so now first of all, we need to create the UI of the recipe app. So first of all, what I'm thinking is we can have an app bar right here, a text form field, like a text field to enter any recipe name or ingredients, and then a button which will display all the recipes and everything. So basically we need an app bar, a text field, a button, and then we have the list or grid or whatever we want. So first of all, for creating a app bar, we need another widget which is scaffold. Yeah, so scaffold is a widget which have a lot of useful properties. Like if you want to create an app bar, and we have already, it has already a app bar property, so you can just tap on app bar, like enter the property app bar, and use the app bar widget or class which is already present in the Flutter SDK, and use to create the app bar. So first of all, let's create an app bar. So we have the app bar. So currently it will show, I guess, nothing. Yeah, it will show nothing. It will just create a app bar, and it on default it will display the white background. So we have the app bar with the blue color. Why blue color? Because in the theme we have set up the primary search to below. It is already predefined when you create the project. So in the app bar, we need something to enter. So first of all, we will write child. So what is, okay, not child, it is title. So we need a title for the app bar. So in the title, if you hover over the title, you can see it is a widget type. So it will also return a widget. So yeah, so we need what? We need a text to display on it. So SDK. Okay, so something is happening. Okay, wait. Am I too fast or are you facing an issue? Answer. Okay, so let me show the title. So if you want to add a title to the app bar, you can have a text or any another type of class. We will discuss about it later, and you can just title and save it. So yes, this is the hot reader feature, and it is the title is already represented right here. Okay, so I think we are facing some issue or something. Okay, I think not. Okay, so first of all, so yeah, we have the title. Now, what we want to align the title at the center of the app bar. So, app bar already have a property like center title, and you can hover over it and check what the type. Okay, so it is a bool type, so you can just add true, and if you save it, yeah, if you save it, it will display the title at the center of the app bar. Okay, so yeah, so after this what we can do, we need to change the background. Like we don't like this background, so you can change the background color to colors dot whatever, like some for me like black. Yeah, so we have the app bar of color black. After this what we can do, so first of all we have a app bar. Now we need the title, like text form field, button and list and all things, like a simple some text or anything else. For that we have another property in our wait, I'm facing an issue. Yeah, for that we have another property in the scaffold to display the content of the body. Like this white background is the body of this scaffold class in which we can display our content. So after this we can just go to the body, like this is the body property of the scaffold, tap on it and we have the body. So first of all, if I just add a container, first of all at this moment, and just add a color, like colors dot red or something, if I save it. So then like this, we have the body. At the body, we have a container class. In the container class, we have a property color, and which is of type color. And then using the colors widget, we are returning our color, and it is being shown right here. So after this, what we can do? So first of all, we need to display something like what the app is. So you can just change the title to like, okay, wait. Huh. Okay, so I think I'm facing some internet issue right here. Okay, I don't think so. Yeah, okay, we are good. So first of all, in the container, we need something. So in the container, we need text or something. So first of all, we need text right here, then a text form field, a button, and then list. So as you can see, or like imagine that we need a text, form field, and some list. So it is like vertically aligned. To okay, so to vertically align something, we have a widget column. So column will align all the content vertically. So if I type child and use column, okay, so I forgot to mention this. So child is everything. Like if you want a widget inside a widget, like you want to create a tree, like we have scaffold, then we have container, and inside container we need another child, then widgets, then you can use the column and everything. So that is how child is used. Child is present in every widget, mostly every widget. So you can use the child to display content inside another widget. So we have the column widget right here. Okay, so column, so as I mentioned here, so we in the column we have multiple types of widgets. So we don't need a single child, we need multiple child, or you can say children. So we have the property children. So we have the children. If you save it, nothing will show up because in the children we don't have anything. So let's start with color, like text. We have like mm, text, text of the column or something like this, and save it. Okay, am I facing some internet issue? Something? I'm facing some internet issue. It is not being rolled up. Okay, hello. I'm facing some internet issue.
Fine. Everything is fine. Please go ahead.
Is it fine? Okay, let me check the stream first. I think my screen is frozen. Let me check
Yes,
the
it's
stream. Wait.
yeah, it's working. You can go ahead.
Yeah, it's working. Perfect. So we have the column and then we have the color. So it is not being showed up right here. So if I like change the color to okay white, prime stitch color blue. Okay, because we have the HTML import right here. Sorry for that. Yeah, so we have a text right over here in the column. So if I like also Flutter have some tools like dev tools. So if you want to see what is inside the column or how your structure look like, so you can open the dev tools and check the layout and all. So you can see that we have the app bar and we have a center tile of text and then we have a column. So this is the column right here with children. First children is text and nothing else besides. So if we want to have like children to be like full border something, we have to overlap this column with the container. So we have already done uh, already overlapped the column with the container. So what you can do is add a width. Like for this we need the width of the whole string, so double dot infinity. Yeah, so now we have the column with width of the whole screen. So now our text is already on default or at the center of the column widget. Now what we need some text field, button, list and more content. So what we can do, so we need more text. So first of all let me change the text. Like what will we do today? Change the color. You can also, yeah, I forgot to mention this, you can style your text with the style property in the inside the text, and style has a return type of text style. So you can just use the text style widget and add your styling of over your text. So I will return back it to back and save it. Yeah, I'll close the, yeah, perfect. So this is how your text will look like in the column. So if I copy this text widget and just paste it right over here and save it. Yeah, so you can see that inside a column widget, we have different widget inside different widget which are being showed up vertically. So you got the idea of what column is. So now what do we need? Instead of these text, we need some other things, like we need a text field, a button, and some lists. So instead of this, I can use I will remove these two texts. Okay, so now we need a text field. So I will just use text field. Yeah, text field also another widget predefined in the SDK. This is the text field. If you hover over this, you can see all the properties of the text field. It has a lot of properties. So I will use some basic one. And so we have a text field. If I just save it, yeah, you can see the text. If I will remove this dev tools first because you cannot see the text field border or something. So if I, yeah, so this is the text field. If I tap on it and write something, so this is the text field. Okay, yeah. So now we have a text and a text field. We need a button. So I think we should have a button like alongside the text field. So to add a button alongside a text field or add some widgets on horizontally, we have another widget similar to column, which is row, but it aligns the content horizontally. So if I wrap, okay, so if I wrap it up with a row, so this can be helpful to wrap some widget over with another parent widget. And if I save it, Okay, if I add another text for now instead of button, like we have text and some data. If I save it, it will show some error. If I show the debug console, yeah, okay, not this one. Okay, so it is showing, okay, sorry, because, okay, web is already enabled in this project, so sorry for that. Yeah, so now we have some error right here. If I scroll up to the debug console, you can see that we have this error, like it has given like infinity, like the max width is given like unbounded width and all. So what we can do, so for the for text field to be aligned horizontally with another widget, we need to add it as a expanded. Okay, if I just do this, yeah, so now if we expand the text field, so text field was what was the issue, that it was given the unbounded width. That is why we need to add the expanded widget to cover up all the widths available in the screen and also display the text right here. So now we have a text field right here and a data alongside it. So instead of data, I can add another button. So but first of all, we should style a little bit of this like this app, right? The styling is not that good right now, so remove this. I think first of all, let's add a background color. So as mentioned, scaffold has a lot of properties like this. You can use such one. This is the color part, and if you need to add a hex color, what you can do is, so okay, so if I save it, yeah. So whole background color inside the scaffold is now of the hex color 242424. So now also I want the app bar to have the similar color with the background. So what you can do is you can add a transparent color. Yeah, and so we have a transparent color. Also, still we see some like little. If I zoom over it, let me zoom over it. Okay, it is not zooming up, so sorry for that. So if we zoom on it, you can see a little shadow in the recipe app. So what you can do is remove the shadow with the elevation part. So what is elevation? So elevation just elevate our widget and display like something is elevated over the underground widget or something. So that now if we remove this shadow or elevation, we will display the app like this. So now we have the recipe app bar, and the whole common background color. Now the text is not that visible. Let's change the color and increase the height. So if you want to increase the height of the text, just use the font size, and you can add something like 20 or something. Yeah, now we can see that the text is now visible and the size is now increased. Also you can see that the text field and the text field and the data is like quite close to the width of the, you can just cannot see the cursor right here because it is just adjusted to the corner of the width. So what you can do, you can add a padding. So how to add a padding? So if you need to add, so this particular row is covering up all the width. So if you want to add a padding particular to this row, you can just tap on it, use this property and just add the padding. And if I save it right now, you will see this padding is removed. So first of all, let me change the like data or something like this, data color or something. So for, okay, wait, I will change the color of the text field. So to decorate the color, so because you are not seeing the cursor, yeah, on focus you can see the cursor and you can see the padding is right here, but still the text is not that visible. So we need to style the text field. So for styling a text field, we have a property decoration. If you hover over it, you can see a lot of property right here. In such property, we have a decoration property. So for that, you can use the decoration and use, as it mentioned, the input decoration. We can use the input decoration. Okay, so first of all, I will remove this dev tools. Yeah, so we have input decoration. So we need to decorate our text field with something like hint. We need a hint or label or something like padding or something. So we have a decoration property of type input decoration. So we have added our input decoration right here. Okay, so now what we can do, so if we don't we are already focused on the text field, that is why it is showing the blue color. So if you want to change the color of this thing or add a hint right here, so what we can do, so we can use the focus, because if you have seen earlier, if we focus on the text field, then it changes the color. So we need to change the color of the text field without any focus and also with the focus. Like we need a simple and unified color if the text form field is focused or not. So for that we have uh, two properties, enable border and focus border. So because this is the borders, we have to add the color with the border part. So for enable border, we'll have underline input border, and we'll use the border side and use the color property inside the border side. I will just mention it right here after doing it. So if I restart our application, yeah, so if I restart the application, so right now our text form field is not enabled or not focused. Uh, so currently it is showing the white side and the border side of the text form field because it is not focused now. So if I focus on this text form, it will default color on with the blue. So if you want to change the color of the focus to something else, we can just use another property, focus border, and it will also have a type of underline input border. Although similar to that, I will just copy and paste it. Yeah, so if we have focus on it, and now we can see that color on the focus text form field, like the like the border is also changed now. So now our text form field looks good, but text form field doesn't like show us that what we want to enter on it. So you can use the hint text. So if I use the hint text right here, not inside the text field, inside the input decoration, like the hint text, and instead okay, so hint text, if you hover over the hint text, it is a type of string, so automatically hint text just wants the string or the message we want to display as a hint. So what we can do, we can just add something like what we can do, like enter ingredients. Yeah, it will display enter ingredients. So still the styling of the hint is not that good, it is not visible, so we can use another property, hint style. So for this we have the text style. I suppose if you hover over it, yeah, it is of type text style, so we will use the text style which is, and just add the color to like colors dot white. Yeah, so now our everything is visible now. Okay, sorry for that. Yeah, everything is visible now. Hint text is visible to us now. So if you want to change the like hint is there, if you want, enter something, it is still not showing or it is still not visible. So text form field has another property on default outside the decoration, color. So okay, not this one. Okay, it is still inside the input decoration. Sorry for that. Yeah, style. Sorry for that. Yeah, okay. So now if you enter something, it will display the color white. Yeah, so as mentioned right here. So text field has various type of properties. Some of them we have covered right here, like a style property to display the text style with a particular style, whatever you want, like color, white, or font size, in case something else. For the decoration to be visible in such background, dark background, we can use the decoration property and use the enable border and focus border to change the color of the text field. Also, at the right side of this text field, we require a button. Currently it is a text, so we have to create a button. So for creating a button, we have various things. You can create a custom button using container, or you can use raise button or flat button. So if I use the previously defined button, like raise button, and okay, so raise button is another type of widget you use to define a particular type of button. So if I hover it, you can see that squiggly yellow line. So if you hover over it, so it says on pressed is required, because it is a button, so it requires on press. So it will do something whenever you press something. Okay, so currently I will empty the on press currently. Okay, another thing, if I save it, it will show a button, like this is the button. if I tap on it, it will do nothing because on press is doing nothing. So currently it is an empty button without anything, any widget, any styling, anything particularly. So what you can do, you can add another common property, child. So child, basically that I mentioned earlier, every widget can be overlapped by another widget using the child property. So we have child. Now we will use a text. Inside the text we will mention like button or something. So we can see the button is visible now, and if we tap on it, it is not showing anything. So press, I will, yeah. Okay, so currently our button is doing nothing. On being pressed, it is doing nothing currently. So if I tap on it, I just added the print statement right here. So if I tap on it, it will display the pressed message inside our debug console. So instead of this button is quite weird. We can create a custom button. So instead of this, I will use the custom button. For creating a custom button, we need a container. Okay, and we need a child obviously, and some text inside the button or something else. So this is how a button looks like. Yeah, it is container. Inside the container we have text. It is not button because it doesn't have a on press. It doesn't have background color. Nothing else. So what you can do? You can add a color to it, like something like that. Okay, I think it will take a lot of time for me to like customizing or something like this. So I will just like quickly do something and just wrap it up. Like for instance, so for button to be like on press, so for custom button to be pressed and it is to display something or printing something in our console, we can use another property which is gesture detector. Okay, so gesture detector detects, as the name mentioned, it detects the tap or on press or various type of feature to on this particular widget and do something. So we have one property on tap. Okay, so with the on tap we can also display something like container container pressed. Okay, and if I save it and tap on it, it will display this press button. Okay, so this is how you can display the press button. Okay, now so first of all, what we want the recipes, like we have type by ingredient like apple, and we tap on it and it will display something right over here. It will display a list or something. So first of all, what we need a list of the data. Okay, so at the moment we don't have a list, so I will just add a list and like data or something. Okay, so after pressing a button, it will show some data. So, but we need the API for that. Sanskar will cover the API part, but I will show you how you can display the static part, like the container, and how you can display the UI part here. So, in after the gesture editor, we need a list. Or so, if we use the list part, like list view, we need the list view. List view is another widget in the Flutter SDK, which you can use. Okay, I have it as a column. Okay, in entire children you can display something right over here because okay, so for now I will not use the children widget because we will fetch the data live with the API. So I will just remove this part and create a builder or something like this that will automatically detects the uh, length of this list and display something. Okay, so instead of list, I am thinking of creating a grid view. You know, grid, like one widget here, one widget, like two columns, and you will display the list item inside the two columns. So for that, what we can do, we will use another widget, grid view. Sorry for the background news. Yeah, so we need a builder, and inside the builder we have properties that are required, like item builder, git delegate, and item count, and anything else. So first of all, item builder, it will return something. For now, let's return a text. Okay, and now we have the git delegate property. In the get delegate property, it require a sliver type. Yeah, a sliver get delegate. So I will just type out sliver get. Okay, I will remove this one. Yeah. Yeah, count one. So spacing will be of 25. I will mention this what are we doing right here, and max protects count. Okay, instead of count we can use extent right here. Let me change the. Yeah, so it requires another max access count. Okay, for now it will be much better, and I will display an item count of 5. Okay, so it will display some 5 items right here. Yeah, like inside below this text, but it is showing a error that it the unbounded height most of the yes, because it has an unbounded height. We need to add a particular height to the current list because it is going with the infinite height. So what you can do, it has another property to shrink all the children. So you have shrink wrap, and you can use this true. Okay, it's still showing some errors. Let me check. Why is it showing some errors? Okay, height. Wait for it. Let's see if I restart the app. Okay, it is showing some errors right here. Has bounded with true get view. Okay. Wait for it. Okay, we have grid builder. Okay, for instance, I will create a container with particular height for now because we are short on time. Still, what is this issue? Let me check. Okay, we have expanded it. Okay, my mistake. I've used this grid view inside the row. That is my mistake. Sorry for that. Because the row contains the text field and the button. So instead of this, we wrap it in beside the padding right here. Yeah, so we can see the data. Like data is being displayed right over here. Okay, so instead of this, we need a particular tile, a particular button, or a particular card to display the recipes. So what you can do is create another class for the button because everything is about widget right here. So I will create another class of recipe tile which will display the recipes right here. So I will create stateful widget. Okay, stateful widget of recipe tile. Okay, so it is a stateful widget. Why stateful widget? Because we will change the data dynamically because it will be fetched with the APIs. Okay, so okay, there's quite lot nice background in my background. Okay, so first of all, what do we need? We need a container or something like this. So first of all, we need a container. Okay, sorry, I wrapped a container inside a container. My mistake. Yeah, so this is not being called currently. So recipe tile is not being used currently anywhere. So instead of text.data, we need this recipe tile to display something right here. So I will just remove this and call the recipe tile right here directly. If I save it, it will still display the data part. And if I style the widget right here, like text style, it will change the data dynamic from right here to right here because we are calling another class from here. Okay, so I think we are like okay. So we are short on time. I will wrap it up like quickly. So first of all, what you can do, you can add a color to the container. You can like I'll add a particular like colors.white and a second. Yeah, so it shows the white background because and there is no spacing in between. So for adding spacing, I can use the delegate property. Yeah, max. Yeah, cross axis spacing to 30. It is okay. So it is now displaying some spacing between the widgets. So I will remove this container or this particular height from it and save it. Now we can see the data right here, like all the 7 elements, like sorry, all the 5 elements with a return type recipe tile are being displayed here. So it is still on the edges. So I will wrap it up with some padding. So I will wrap it up with the padding. Okay, so padding all 8. Okay, so now we have some grid views. So after entering something, we will tap on it right here and it will display some contents right here. So basically it is now hard coded, but you can pass the data from the API to here. So passing the data from this class to this class, we have some variables. We can just use the arguments to pass something like title, um, a description, or a URL or image URL. But still it will display some error because it is immutable, so we need a constructor for that. This might be hard for you guys because I think you might not be familiar with the constructor part or else. Okay, so this is how you can pass the variable. So we haven't passed anything right here from here, and we haven't used these properties inside this. So instead of hard coding data, you can just use the title right here and save it. So it will show some error because currently we are not passing some these variables from this class. So for this you can use title, and I can use some text like um, text data, anything. Yeah, it is showing the data right now. Yeah, so we have passed the data as a title, and now we are using the title as widget.title because this is the state, this is another state. So what is create state? Create state, okay, I forgot to mention this. Create state is created inside the stateful widget, so it will focus on a particular state. So if we want to have something dynamically change inside this particular state, like for example, if you have used Swiggy or Zomato, if you apply a coupon code or something, it will change right directly. And okay, sorry for the background noise, and update the UI. Okay, so I think yeah. Okay, so this is how you can pass the variables and anything. If you want to pass the description, if you want to pass something like test description. Yeah, so it is not being showed right here because I'm not displaying the title here. So if you want to display some content inside this particular uh, view or tile, you can just you can use another column to display the content vertically. If I wrap it in a column and use this exact same widget, okay, and description right here, and save it, it will display the data. Okay, so okay, column is not having anything else. Okay, and Ishan, are you there? We do we have time for the API part? Ishan, are you there?
Yes. Let's just call Sanskar, I guess. He can work on the API part.
Yeah, so he can move with the API part. So we don't have that much time to create the particular good UI. So I guess
Yeah, actually, we have to wrap up at like at most 5:30 because we have another session.
Okay, so Sanskar, you can take over it. I will just push it to the GitHub repository.
Okay. So first of all, like I would like to introduce myself. My name is Sanskar. I'm a software developer at PewStack, and I also teach on YouTube. You can read my blogs on flutternerd.com or on Medium. So right now, as Himanshu has completed the basic user interface for the recipe app which we are building, we will continue forward by adding APIs so that we can fetch the recipes according to the requirement. So, for example, if I search for banana, it will give me all the different recipes available for banana. It can be banana milkshake or things like that. Okay. So, first of all, let me first share my screen. So, just give me a second. Okay. So, I guess my screen. Okay. So first of all, as Himanshu is going to push the code, what I'm going to do is I'm going to first show you how we can like download the code from GitHub, and then we are going to continue forward. So let me show it just a second. So first of all, like if you're continuing and following up, first thing which you can do is visit this URL and download the code if you're not able to like write all of it. You just need to click on this button and just click on download zip. This will download all the code which for the application which we are building, and you will be good to go with that. So I'm going to just change the name so that I have it. Okay. Now I'm going to open it up in VS Code. So let me show you. Just a second. First, we need to unzip. Sorry, I was opening up the another one. Just okay. So first, whenever we download someone else's code, or maybe you are downloading your own code, we need to first get all the packages. So packages are something which is available on this pubspec.yaml file. The one of which is very essential is this Flutter SDK, which we are using to build Flutter apps. There will be multiple ones which we will be using. For example, for using APIs and all, we will be using a package called HTTPS. So now let's talk about packages. So what packages are is basically, as a developer, what we can do is we can create different widgets, which can be just used widgets, and you can call it different functionalities which we are building, and we can provide them through pub.dev as a package which can be used by any other developer. They don't have to write the whole code from scratch. They can do different things via that. So first, what we are going to do. Okay, is my screen visible? Just a second. Let me just make sure. Am I?
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay. So first we will start by downloading the important package which we need. So the first package will be HTTPS. So we are going to, sorry, HTTP, it's fine, yeah. So we are going to go over here and install this package. Now, how we are going to do that? We are just going to copy this by visiting this installing tab, copying this HTTP and the version, copy that, and then you just need to paste it over here inside pubspec.yaml file. Okay. So once we do that, then we can just save it, or you can click on this button to get the packages. Now, first of all, let me also run it so that you will be able to see the application sidewise. So now, in the end, one thing which we will also be going through, if time permits, we can just show it on the web, or I can start it on the mobile as well. Comparatively, web is faster, so, but let me just show it on mobile so that it is comfortable. Okay. Okay, so now to run the application, you just need to open up any of the Dart file. So this is the one. So this is something which may happen with you, not for sure, but basically I have updated the whole system. So I'm using Mac, so there was a new version available, so I updated that. So that may be the reason, but this is not something an error. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open it up again. So just visiting the recent and then opening that up. Okay, so now to run this application, we just need to open any of the Dart file, click on this debug option and run with Dart. And I'm going to select Pixel 27. Now, some people were asking about how to create these AVD to run your application. You need to use Android Studio for this. You can run and use a VS Code directly to create the applications and all, writing the code and all. You can run it through your own real device as well if you don't want to use this AVD and install Android Studio. But it basically depends on your requirement. But for most cases, it's recommended you can use Android Studio. At least that's what I started with. But yeah, VS Code is much lighter. That's why we end up like using now VS Code. So let's just give it a second till it runs the application. In the meanwhile, I would like to show you the API which we will be using to fetch the details for the recipe. So the API is called add and this is the website. What we will be doing first is we will be signing up for it. I have already signed up. You just need to click on the sign up button and they will give you an option to start now. So I am already signed up. Yeah. So basically you need to submit this information of username, email address, password and all, and just create an account. It's absolutely free. You will not be required to submit anything like credit card or anything. So after once that is done, you just have to visit on this recipe search API. Once you will do that, this is the page which will open. Now, this particular API is quite complex in itself. Like it provides you quite a lot of options which you can go through. But since we are like bit on time, so what we are going to do, we are going to go through the main one, which is that we will be able to search the recipe by the ingredients. So what I mean by that is if we search for like, for example, banana, it will show recipes which consist that as an ingredient. So banana, milkshake and things like that. So let me show you the API. So this is the API. How now this is a longer version of it, which consists of different, for example, from and to. So what you may have seen is if you are scrolling through Facebook, it's not going to load thousands of posts in once, right? So what happens is it's going to load some post, and then once you scroll to the bottom, it will scroll more and more. This is called pagination and all. This is not something which we are going to include in this one. Hence, we will be going to skip this part. Other than that, this API also provides you an option that you can enter the calories, which means like from how much to how much, and they will show according to that as well. And you can also mention the health and as well that recipe which we are showing them, that can be alcohol free and things like that. Now, but as I mentioned that we are going to just focus on searching the recipes according to the ingredient. So for that, we just need to use this first part, which is the search query. This Q stands for query, which is what we want to search for. So let me show you how we can see what the data this API is going to return. So you are just going to copy this till the end of this your API key part. Just copy this and just paste it in a new tab like this. Now we need to get the API key to make it work. So I'm going to open up this get an API key now. I'm going to leave this open so that I can explain later. But now we are over here. So I have already created an API key. What you need to do to create one is just click on this create new application. Once you will click on it, it will show you this option. So we can select the service which we want. So we are using this recipe search API, right? They have other APIs available as well, which you can go through. They are really helpful and you can build quite a lot of different apps with us. So now we are going to give it a name. I'm just going to give it a very simple sample description. This is not required. This is something for yourself and you can give whatever name you want. So once you will do that, you will be able to have this application ID and application key. So how we are going to use this application ID and application key to fetch the data from this API key? We basically are going to copy this application ID. You need to remove this $sign, then this bracket, and then your API ID, and then this bracket, and then paste your API app ID. Then you need to copy the application ID and then paste it over here, your app key. Then hit enter. Once you will do that, this is how the data will be returned by the API key. So if you're not aware how API works, you can think of it like a website. Basically, you are typing in a URL and it is going to return something, right? Whenever you open up any of the website, whether it is Google, Facebook, they are basically returning something, and that is represented on our browser in different ways. So if that is a whole HTML, it will be represented with all those things. But in this part, we are getting a JSON, which is returned when we search for an API. Now, of course, this is not easy to understand for you. So one of the things which I will recommend is you can download this extension called JSON View. So if I just click on this, you can see it's much more structured and you are much more able to understand what's happening. So how this API works is, it is going to first show you what the query is. And then, as I mentioned, how many like different results we are fetching, right? So like Facebook, they first fetch some few results. Then when you scroll to the bottom, they will scroll search more and more and more. You don't have to click somewhere to search more. They'll just do it on itself, right? So that's something which we can do if we are using these from and to, which we are not right now. And then we have this count as well, so that how many they have available. So they have quite a lot. So yeah, if you want, you can really search a lot. But basically, the main thing which we are going to show in the app will be this one, this recipe part. So you can see each recipe consists of this image. So I can open up the image in the new page. So as you can see, this is the image. So I guess we searched for chicken. So yeah, that's what the image is for. They are also showing the source. What is the source of that? And they are also showing the URL. So if you want to read more about the recipe, how we are going to make this, what are the ingredients and things like that, it will be all available in this URL. You can also get all the details directly, like they provide that by ingredients. And also, for example, if we want to show them directly, we can do that as well. But in this case, what we are going to do right now is, whenever someone writes, for example, if I write over here banana and click on this, so this button is going to be changed to a search button. So first, let's do that. So first, we need to find where is this button. So I'm going to search for button. Here's the button. We need icon for this, right? So basically, icon will be icon, and then icons dot search. So one thing which is really good about in Flutter, which you can see, that I know what I wanted to use. I wanted to use icon. So I mentioned icon. Now in icons, there are different material icons which are there for you to just use. You don't have to, download the images for that, download SVG files, things like that. You can just use the one which are available in the material icon. So you can see I just mentioned icon. I said icons dot search. Okay, let me just say, yeah. So you can just mention it like that, and you will be able to use the icons available in the material design. And as you can see, it's real-time updated, right? So we are not going to use the background color as red. Let me just remove that and save it. Now the black is not visible, so I am going to change the color for the icon. So for that, I'm going to just say, we're going to provide it a color of colors. Now, as we did for icons, similarly, we have material colors available, right? So to use material colors, we can just say colors dot white. So you can see, I wanted to provide it a color of white. So I went into the icon, I want to provide a color. So I mentioned color, and I wanted to provide the color to be white. So the white color was available in the material design. So I can provide it like that. There are options where you can use hex code and other things as well. Okay, so that is done. Now what I want is, when I will click on this, the recipes from the API should be visible right over here, right? So let's do that, how we are going to fetch the recipes from that URL. So where is the link? Just a second. Okay, so it's over here. So first of all, to fetch the data, you need to understand what this is. So as I mentioned, this is a JSON file, right? What is a JSON? JSON is basically, you can say map. The main thing is about the map. In map, if you don't know what a map is basically a collection of key value pairs. So what is a key value pair? This is a key, right? This is its value, right? So this is a pair of different pair of keys and values, right? So you can see this is key, this is value, key, value, key, value. So the value can be anything, but the major part, you can see the key is string. Okay, so what I said major part, the value is different. So for example, this value is a string, right? It is a URL, but it is a string. In some cases, it is a number, right? So this can be int, this can be double as well. So you can see this is a number and other values as well. But this one, which is the key, it is always a string, right? So this is something which we will use in the next section when I'm going to create a model for this. But for now, I want you to be clear about this. Now, whenever you're fetching the data, you need to describe exactly how the structure of the data is so that you can fetch it correctly. So over here, the structure is this starts with this curly braces, right? This is a curly one and this is a rectangular bracket. So if we are starting with this one, it means it's a whole map. It's a full one single map. It's not a collection of different maps, but a single map. What is a map? Map is a key value pair collection, and this is a full map. This is a single map returned by the API. Now, inside the map, there is a key. That key is called hits. Now, hits in itself consist of collection of map, right? So these are all the different maps which we have, and it is a collection of maps. Okay, so now these different maps are going to provide us the values for the recipe. So what you can understand in the first view is we don't want the whole data, we just want some specific things, right? So without continue forward over here, let's go to the code and get this data inside our Flutter application. So I'm going to copy this URL. This URL was nothing, but basically we went on this page for the documentation. They have the URL of their API, which is right over here, which is api.admin.com/search, and we can provide the query and the app ID and the app key, right? And then we basically get the API key and the application ID and put it there. That's all what the URL is, right? So I just don't want you to be confused about it. Okay, so when do we want to search on or get the data? We want to do that once we click on this button. So let's move to where we did that. Okay, so we use this over here and we added a gesture detector, right? Which is going to detect a gesture, which is a on tap property. So this is something which I would like to show you first. Okay, so if you will open up your debug console and let me just clear everything. If I click on it, we can see this container pressed, which is something which we mentioned over here, right? So over here, we don't want to just show the print this, right? We want to fetch the data. So let's continue and do that. So what I'm going to do, start with is get the import that HTTP. So as I mentioned, for using that API, we will be using HTTP package, right? So let me just quickly close what we have here. Okay, now I guess it's easy. And also, if the font size is small or something, you can comment. I have those open here. So yeah, you can. Okay, so first we are going to start by importing HTTP package. So we will go at the top, just below this material, we will say import, and then we will say the package. Just a second, import HTTP like that. And then you can say as HTTP. Okay, once you do that, you just have to copy that. You don't have to, but yeah. Then you just have to visit this on tap property. So as I mentioned, I just want this to be very clear. What we want is we want when we click on this button to fetch the details, right? So to do that, first we are going to type create a variables actually, so that we can save the data in a particular variable when we fetch it. So let me just say variable and raw equals to, we are going to say HTTP dot that, and we are also going to save the URL, right? We are not going to, sorry, it's going to be a string, and this is going to be called URL. So sorry for that. That is basically because in different languages you are going to use different things, but over here we can just directly in Dart we can mention that to be a string. Okay, so let me just copy the URL and paste it here. Okay. Now Once we have the URL, we are going to use HTTP to fetch the details. So first of all, I will say HTTP dot get, right? So this is a get request to get the data from that URL. So once we type that, we just need to provide the URL, and then we will have the response. Okay, now you may want to see how the response is, what the response is there. So let me just show you by printing, just like we did before. So we are just going to say $sign and this, and then we can print the value of this. So we are going to print the body of that. So I'm just going to save that. Just a second. Okay. Okay, let's just continue with this first. Clear up the debug console. Save this. And click on this. So it's going to return this future. So this is something which you need to understand now. That in Flutter we are going to use async and await. Now what is this? Basically, whenever you are fetching the details from an API or you are doing something which is going to take some time, you need to wait for that process to complete to assign the value of the value which we are getting to a variable, right? So for example, if I'm mentioning response is equals to http.get, then providing the URL, if this is going to return me something after some time, my compiler which is going to compile it has already crossed this line, right? So for response, it has not provided data anything yet, right? So it will be nothing till. So we need to wait for that data so that it is assigned to that variable, then only we should continue. So to do that, we use async and await. So how we define that? We basically will say async, and wherever we want the code to wait for that value, we are just going to write await. So I want the code to wait to get this value, then assign it to over here. So I'm going to say await. Once we have that, I am going to just save it. Now the content which we are going to get is JSON, right? We don't want a JSON directly, but rather we will convert that to a model, and then from that model we will get the details and just show them. So let me quickly show you how we create a model. So just go to your lab folder and create a new folder called model. And then inside the model, we are going to create a model called recipe model. Okay. So to create a model, we are just going to say class, then give it a name, and then bracket. Now, every model is going to consist of the different values which we have. So it is going to have string values of the name of that particular recipe. So for example, if we go to the recipe over here, you can see this is the name of the recipe, right? The label. It's called this chicken, whatever. So this is something which we want, right? So we are going to name that here label. Then we need the image. So we are going to create another string for that. Then we are not going to show the source. We can, but okay, let's just get it. We can show the name over here and the source over here. Just do one thing quick so that you will be able to see it side by side, easy to compare. Okay, we are going to have a source. The next, we want the URL, right? This URL, we are going to use this to send the user to that particular web page so that he can continue forward. Okay, so I'm going to just say URL. Okay, once this much part is done, we are going to create a constructor for this recipe model, and we are going to provide all these different values. So this dot label, this dot image, this dot source, and this dot URL. Other than that, we don't need anything. We're just going to show the name. We are going to show the source. We are going to show the image. And we are going to have the URL, because once the user will click on any of these, he will be redirected to that web page so that he can read the recipe and can make it. Okay, so let me just add a semicolon here and save that. So that's done for the recipe model. So as I mentioned before, this hits is actually having a collection of maps, and each collection have the details for the recipe which we want to make. Okay, just a second. So, okay, just a, okay, I think I changed that. Let me see if I have that written somewhere. Okay, so basically this is the URL. We need to mention something, so I'm going to mention Apple as the query, and I'm going to click on that JSON view Chrome extension again so that it is structured properly. Okay, so as you can see, this is the name of the recipe, and this is the name of the source, and this is the image URL. Okay, so we are quite delayed, so let me just try to make it quick. So we are going to go inside this one, which is the home, and inside the home we are going to create a list of recipe model. I guess it's imported. Yeah, so if this is not imported, there will be option of this bulb. You can just import that. Just make sure you are naming it correctly. Whatever you have given name over here, just make sure to give it over here. Okay, so I'm going to call this recipes and is equals to new list, and this is going to be recipe model. Okay, now we have created a list of recipe model, and now we can fetch all these details which we have over here inside the hits, and we can assign them to the recipe model and then show that. Okay, so for that we need to create a function, and we need to call that function, right? So what happens is you need to understand a little bit about how Flutter life cycle works. What is the life cycle of Flutter? Basically, when an application starts, there is a function which called. When you will close the application, there is a function which is called. So for the start, we are going to use init state. Now, this is a stateless widget. So you need to understand the difference between a stateless and a stateful widget. When there is something in that particular widget, now what is a widget? Widget is everything. Like, for example, it can be collection of text, there is an image, there is something like that. So that is a widget, right? If there is something which is going to update, for example, in a screen, there are, like, for example, your screen on Instagram profile page, right? Your name is not going to change instantly. Your profile picture is not going to change instantly. So that is something you can use it as a stateless widget. But in the case of when you're browsing through the post, if as a developer I want to show you the latest likes count or latest comments count, right? That is something which you can have stateful, because that is something which you can update, right? Even the whole posts itself. I want, for example, when you're chatting with someone in a chat application like WhatsApp or something, I want you to have the latest messages available right away. You don't have to refresh, you don't have to reload for that. That is somewhere we use a stateful widget. But in the case of as I give an example for Instagram profile page, there is my profile picture, there is my name. It's not going to change unless and until I change it, right? So that is something which we can use at stateless. To convert it, it's really easy. You just need to select this and click on this bulb icon and click on this convert to stateful widget. Once you will click on that, everything will be taken care of for you, and it is going to be converted into a stateful widget. Once you have converted that into a stateful widget, now you are ready to use the init state. Where is the init state? Just a second. So we will first say override if it's not directly showing. So we can say void init state. Now this is the function which is going to be called when the application loads for the first time, right? So if I want to call a function, I want to fetch some details. Now right now I'm doing that over here, like with a click of a button. So I can leave that like this. But if in case you want to load something when the app loads for the first time, for example, when you load the Facebook for the first time, you're not going to click somewhere to load the data. It's going to load the post for you when it opens. So that is something you can do over here. So now, since we have already shown how we are going to save the response, now this response is not something which we can consume. We are not here to show this to the user. We want to show just the name and all. So we are going to decode this data into that. So how we do that, let me show you just that. So to do that, first of all, what we will be doing is we will be creating a map over here. Just a second. Okay, so I'm going to say map. As I mentioned before, hope you remember, the keys were map is a collection of key and value pair, and all the keys were of type string, but the values were of different types. That can so that's why we are using a dynamic over here. I'm not saying here it is a number or integer or maybe double. I'm not saying it is a string, because it can be anything. So that's why I'm mentioning the value which we this is the data type of the value. So whenever we define a map, we define the data type of the value here and the data type of the key over here. So that's why I'm saying dynamic, because the values were somewhere number, somewhere it was string. Okay, so now let's give the map a name. It's going to be, for now, let's just call it a JSON data. So because as I said, the API is returning a JSON, and we are just accepting that JSON data. Okay, so I'm going to say JSON decode. This is a pre-available method. You're not going to create this function or method. It is available by importing dart convert. So I'm just going to hit enter, and it is going to import automatically. If it's not done for you, so for example, you can see the dart convert has been imported. If it's not done for you, just select this, click on this bulb icon, and you will have that option. Now, in the JSON decode, what we are going to provide is response.body. So I'm going to say response.body. Okay, so this is the JSON data available for us. Now, if you want, we can have a look at this data by clicking on the button of the search. So let's just quickly see that so that we are clear of how we are continuing forward. I'm just going to select this JSON data, show it here like that, and I'm going to say this is JSON data. Just for the simplicity, I'm going to remove the response. I'm going to add a semicolon, and I'm going to save that. Okay, so now what is going to happen is we should be able to see in the debug console this when we click on this. So let me just type in banana, and we are searching here for chicken. So let me just search for that. Okay, not JSON data. Maybe let's just search for apple. Okay, so here I'm mentioning the query, what we want to query. We are going to change that so that we accept it from here. But right now I'm just querying for apple. Let me open up my debug console, remove everything I have, and let me just update that so that it will search for apple now. Let me remove this and click on this. So when I will click on it, it is going to wait for some time until unless it gets the data. It's going to save that to the response. Then it is going to move to the this next line where we are decoding that data, and then it's going to decode it to a map. Right? Once we have the map, we are just printing it. So as you can see, we have all the things available, especially this hits, which we are going to use. Hits is a collection of all the maps, and now we are going to fetch that. Okay, so now, as I said before, the reason why I spent quite a lot of time is explaining you how this whole map collection things works, because that is something which we need right now to now extract that data from that whole JSON, raw JSON which we have, to get what we actually need. So one thing which you can see on this is, I mentioned you, this is the first thing which is returning is a map, right? It's not a collection of map, it is a map. How I can understand that? Because the first one is a curly braces. If it was this rectangle braces, in that case, this is a collection of map which is being returned. So right now, since it's a map, I know this is a key, and I can get its value by calling that key. So how I can get just this hits, because I don't care about this data right now. I just want these different recipes available. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to say JSON data. And this is the data which we have. And let me just say, okay, so what is the key? So the key is hits, HITS. We need to make sure we name it exactly what it is, right? So I mentioned it, JSON data is then hits dot for each loop. Now, if you're not aware a lot about the loops, how loops works is basically, if we want to run a piece of code again and again and again until a specific condition happens, there are multiple options available for that. You can use do while loop, for each loop. There are multiple options. Now, for each is basically when we have a particular amount, we know how much content we have, and basically a number of collection of items which we have, and we want to just go through them, right? Let's say I have just 10 things and I want to go through each of them one by one. That's when we use for each loop. So I'm going to use a for each loop here, and then inside of that I'm going to mention the name of each element. So I'm just calling it an element for now. We can call it whatever you want over here. It does not matter. It's just going to change how we are going to use that. So first of all, I would like to print this so that I can show you that what we are getting. So I'm going to just copy that and just say dot to string. Now there is a, now I'm going to just comment this out and uncomment, sorry, yeah, comment this print statement, and so that you can see this. So let me save this, clear this all. Let me add something else as well so that, you know, there is a separation. This is new, just so that there is a bit separation of understanding of different elements. Okay, so let me just clear this all, and then we are going to click on this button. It's going to wait for some time to get the data, and now it is not now same way how it was before. It is now separated into different elements. What are different elements? Well, the different elements are nothing but basically these different maps which were there, right? So let me just show you a bit of one example. This is new. This is the first one starting. The recipe URL is admin ontologies. So let me just check if that's correct. Yeah, so you can see that is correct. Now if I will just close this and show you the second one, this is actually the same. So but you can, yeah, you can trust me for that. That is let me just check for it so that we can make sure over here. So you can see this is a new recipe and things are like that. So let's continue forward and you will be able to see the data. So to confirm, okay, let me just go right back to that element. Now with this element, what I want to do, we are going to take the exact details which we want, save them to the model, save all of the models to the list, and then show that. So let me do that. I'm going to call the model recipe model, which we just created before. I'm going to name it recipe model is equals to new recipe model. Okay. Now these are the different values which we provide, but we are just creating the model, so we don't have to provide them right now. I'm going to just close it like that. Okay, now it is going to show you this error because what I did was I made them require must parameters, so that if you want them to be you can give or not, like depending on your requirement, you can just add these curly braces and then it should be fine. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say recipe model is equals to recipe model. Now we need to create a function to convert this to a recipe model. By this I mean basically this element to string which we printed right now, this map behind this. So I'm going to go to my recipe model, and over here we are going to create a new function. So that function is going to be called factory. So one thing is that there are going to be things which you may be like confused why it is called this and all, but what you need to focus on this main thing, which is recipe model dot from map. So what does it say? It says that recipe model from map, which means we are getting the recipe model from map. What was the map? Map was basically collection of key value pairs. So we are going to provide, let me just mention that dynamic. Okay, so what I'm doing over here is whenever we create any kind of function and we are accepting anything an argument, we can mention the data type of that, and then we can mention the variable name. So I'm going to name that parsed JSON, right? Parsed JSON, don't get confused by the name. It's basically that we have a JSON which we passed. We actually, let me show you here. We decoded that and then we are providing that, right? So just to be clear about that. Now, then once we define the function of that, then we can just say return. So this is something which we are going to return by this function, which is going to be a recipe model from a map. So I'm going to say recipe model. Now, since we have defined these brackets, these makes all these different variables are named parameters. What is the named parameters? Basically, you can now say image and then say parsed JSON and say image. What did I did over here? Well, similar to how I did over here, JSON data, then provided the key to get the value of that key. Let me just make it to the back over here. So you can see each hits consist of these this value, right? This whole collection of data. We got that, and then in each of that element, so we are inside this one, right? This border represent that element. So we are inside of this one. Now inside of this, what I want is this image, right? So what I'm going to say, I'm going to say pass JSON an image. So that is going to give me the value for this key, which is image. So let's do the same for the others. I'm going to say URL pass JSON. We are going to say URL. Then I'm going to say source parsed JSON. Then I'm going to say source. I hope these things are clear, because all the things, the other ones are same. Basically, we are getting the value for the URL key. We are getting the value for the source key. Now we are getting the value for the label key. I'm going to say parse JSON, and then I'm going to say label. Okay, now we will end that with a semicolon, and we are good to go. Okay, let's get back to the code where we begin. So now we have this element. We want to convert that to a recipe model. So I'm going to say dot from map. That is the function we just created, right? Once we mention that, let's just do one thing. Yeah, from map, and then we are going to say element. Now we cannot just say element over here. Why? Because this element actually does not directly have that. What do I mean by that? Well, this is the map, and we cannot just directly say that the image is over here. This image key is not just right over here. Well, this map consists of a key called recipe, and that recipe consists of all these values. This map, which we have as an element, actually consists of 3 keys: recipe, bookmarked, and bought. We are going to go inside the recipe key, and then we are going to get the image. So I'm going to go inside the recipe. How? We are going to say element, and then these brackets recipe, and that's how we get inside the recipe, get all these values, and save them to the recipe model. I guess I'm not using that. Let me just save that. Okay, now we are going to continue forward. I'm going to say recipes. So now we have the model. What did I say before? We are going to create the we are going to get these collections of maps. We are going to convert them to recipe model. Then we are going to create a list of recipe model, right? So now we have already created the list for the recipe model. Where is it? This is the one. We need to save this recipe model to that. So how we are going to do that? We are going to just go to the next line, recipes dot add, right? It's simple English, like you can understand, like what are we doing? We are going adding something to the list. We are going to say dot add. Just a second, let me. Okay, so what we are doing, we are just adding it. What we are adding this recipe model. Now I provided that over here. So what will happen now? For each loop will run. How for each loop runs? Well, we have some things we want to go each of that one by one, right? So that's what it's going to go. It's going to go inside the hits, go to all of these one by one, and one by one, it's going to add all of that to the recipes. Now let's go back to the list over here. Now we want to use that recipes over here and show that. So before we have given the item count to be a fixed one. Now we are going to give that by recipes dot length. Now, one thing which we need to understand about Flutter is whenever we assign some value to some particular variable, it's not going to be represented on the screen right away. We need to specifically mention to the Flutter. Now, since we're directly using it, there are now different things. You can use different state management option. But for now, for the simple way, what we are going to do is we are going to say set state. This is very important for the values to update the user interface of what we see over here, right, to the latest values of it, right? So I'm just going to say set state actually after we have updated all that, right? It does not make sense to like refresh the screen again and again for each. I'm going to do that after it. Okay, so once that is done, we are just setting the state. Then we come back to this grid layout, right? And we change that item count to now recipe.length. We go inside this title, and then what we are going to do is we are going to mention that this is going to be recipes. Then inside the recipe, first of all, we need to give the index. So index is there, we can get that index, and then just say dot what is the name of that? So the title is basically this first one, I guess. So I'm just going to save that, name that as a label, right? So the label is basically the name which we are getting, this one. So we will be showing blackberry plus apple cocktail. So let's see if that is going to work. I'm going to go inside the recipe tile, and I need to click on this to fetch some details to show over here. Okay, so you can see we have blackberry plus apple cocktail, right? Let's update the description now. So I'm going to say this and paste it here. Now for the description, what is it called? Well, the description was the source, right? We planned we are going to show the source as a description. Guess what? We have that. So it is Lottie plus doof. There it is. Now at the background, the white color does not is something which we want. Let's just show an image over there, right? To show the image, what are we trying to do? Well, we want this for now. What I'm thinking about is let's just place this text above the image, right? So this is something which you see in a normal life in something like a sandwich, right? Sandwich, you have two, one above the other, you put something above it and things like that. So that is something what we are trying to do, putting one thing above the other. So when we are trying to do something like that, one widget which we can use is called stack, right? So I'm just going to copy this column, take a stack, give it a children. So as you can see, like you cannot put one above the other if you just have one thing, right? So that's why we provide children to it. So I'm going to provide the first children as the column. The other children is going to be an image. Now, whenever you're using image in Flutter, there are multiple ways you can use the image. First is by asset. What do I mean by asset? Asset is basically you downloaded the image, you saved it in a folder, you can fetch it and show it. File, you can use it from the file, you can use it from the memory. And the network is something where you can just provide the URL and use it. So that's what we are going to do. We have the URL of that particular recipe, and we are just going to show it over here. So let me use this URL here and add a comma here. Okay, so when we are doing that, let me just say widget dot URL. Now, one thing is there, this widget is not going to update quite a lot. So we like if you have a question why we are using stateful widget here, we can actually use the stateless widget, but actually it's very easy to convert from stateless to stateful. But I don't want to, like, I can convert it. Let me just change it to a stateless one. Let's just leave it there. Just be clear that you can use a stateless widget over here. Okay, so now I would like to save this, but I'm not providing the URL over here, so I'm going to provide the URL. Don't get confused about this because we don't have provided the URL. That's why it's asking us that please please do that, otherwise it will show red. So let me just save that. Hopefully the image loads quick. I guess the background color is white. We should just get rid of that. Okay, we have the widget. First, let's make sure that we have the URL. So I'm just going to add that here. I'm going to show that as it. And I'm going to just show the URL. I just want to confirm that we have a URL. I'm just going to show it like this for now. Okay, so you can see we have the URL actually, but the URL which we have is actually the one we want to send. So we are passing the wrong one. So let me just use the image URL. Okay, that's the one which we should pass here. So I'm going to say image URL, and I'm going to pass that one, image. That's what we named it before, right? So let me just check. I'm calling it image. Is the same key is used here? Yes. Okay, so let's get back over here and let me just save this. I'm providing the image URL, so I should be using image URL here. It's clear what we did before was basically we were passing the URL to the web page. That's why the image was not loading. Now we are passing the image URLs, and you can see we have the images, right? So what is the next thing? First, let me get rid of the URL in the title. It looks a bit ugly, quite ugly, but let me just get rid of that. And let's get rid of this red color. We don't want to show a red color there. Okay, what did I did? First thing first, let me get rid of that. No red color required. Let me just say, for now, let's just leave it nothing. If you want to give it a style, let me just increase the font size of it. So we are going to say text style. We are going to say font size, and the font size is going to be 2020. That's all. You don't have to mention pixels and all. You just can say, you can give this one to be something like 14. I guess 20 looks more and stuff. Now we can work on the UI, but we are already quite delayed to the time. So I would like to make it quick. We are showing this, we are showing that. Let's just let me just show you quick if we can fix this error to like scroll it down. So right now, as you can see, we have this grid view, right? And this is showing this error of bottom overflowed by that much pixel. Now to fix that, what we can do is we have, well, padding is something you can give inside as well. So I guess we can just quickly get rid of that. Okay, now we want this to be scroll, but it's not scrolling. So we have provided a scroll. Just a second. Clamping, scroll, fixes. Now some things are there which we just make this work. Okay, so I guess this silver grid is fine. Then we have this padding. It's fine to have that. Children are there. We are using the item builder. Okay, so what are we doing? Let me just put this inside a container. Does that solve that? Why would it? Let me just give it a media query.off context.size.height. Will be 167. Okay, so minus 200. Okay, so as you can see, now it is scrolling. We got rid of that error, and these are the different recipes. We are a bit delayed, but let's just quickly do one more thing, which whenever we will click on any of these, we will just open that up in the browser. We can actually use the web view. Okay, let me see. Let me just show you how we can just open that up in the browser. So we are going to go back, and when we are going to use a package, I guess web view will be better. I'm just concerned about the time. So guys, okay, so let's just use the web view. Web view, we are going to copy that, just the same which we did for the HTTP package. So today I have been a bit fast, so if you are facing any doubts, I'm not sure, but yeah, so let me just continue. But yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to comment them down below, and we'll see if we can help. And okay, so we have the web view now. What is web view? Just to be clear about that, we don't want the user to go out of our app to browse the URLs. For example, when you open up any URL on the Facebook, it does not send you to the Chrome browser. It does not send you directly to other browser. It opens that up in that app itself, right? So that is something which we are trying to achieve over here. So for that, I'm going to create a screen which is going to be let's call it a recipe details. Sorry for my voice, it's not always like that. Just okay, so now let's talk about recipe details. It is going to be a stateful widget, so I'm going to just say stateful, and that's all. Now I'm going to name it recipe details. Okay, why is it showing the error? Well, we haven't imported material, so I'm going to go ahead and import the material. Save it. Now, when do we want this screen to open, and how in the world are we going to go from this screen to that screen? Well, first of all, let's implement that quick. I'm going to go inside this card, which is right over here, which is called recipe tile. This is the container. I am going to wrap it, select it, click on the bulb, wrap it with a widget. Let's use the gesture detector. What has happened? Just a second. It seems it's not with. Okay, now it's fine. So in the gesture detector, we can use a property called on tap. What is on tap? Well, tap means click, so that's what it is. Like, it will detect when you will click on it. So when you will click on it, I want to navigate you to the next screen. What is navigate? When we are going from one place to another, that is navigation, right? So what we call it over here is navigator, right? This is someone who helps us in navigating, right? And there are a lot of methods we can talk about. Like literally, we can spend hours in talking about this, how to do this and that. But what we are trying to do, we just want to go to the next screen. That's all. So just click on the push. Over here in the route, you can just say material page route, okay? And then we are going to say builder. Where are you, builder? Just a second. Context builder. I am doing that. So first we will say builder, then we will provide the context, and then we are going to say where do we want to go. We want to go to this recipe details. So I'm going to say recipe details. Okay, now this recipe details knows nothing about what you clicked. It just knows that you are over there, right? That's what happens if you go to someone you don't know. You just went to their home with no details. He don't know you, right? So we want to tell him something about what we want to see over here. So we want to send some details. What is that detail? Detail is basically the URL of the details of that particular recipe, which we will send to this so that it can show us that in that particular page. So for that, how we are going to accept details from one widget to another one, we can just create a constructor over here. Before creating a constructor, we should have a variable. So I'm going to create a variable called, let's just call it a URL. And we are going to create a constructor, right? That is going to be a recipe details. And we are going to say this dot URL, and that's all. Now I can pass this URL from here. I can say URL. Okay, and then I can pass in the URL. Well, we don't have, okay, we have that. This is the one, and I can say widget. So whenever you are using these things, or like you can call it the values which we get from outside of it through the constructor, right? Whenever we are using that inside a stateful widget, we use that with widget dot variable name, right? So I can say widget dot URL. Okay, now it is going to send that over here. How do you know? Well, you don't. So let me show you. So I can say child and text, and I can, this is a stateful widget. So how will I use this URL? I will say widget.url. I'll save that and let me show you if this works. Okay, this looks maybe the most ugliest app you have seen, but don't worry. We have someone called scaffold. Inside of that, you can just say body, and then just get rid of that, give the semicolon here, and save that. And it's at the top, but it is there. Okay, so let me just give it an app bar. What is an app bar? App bar is something which you have seen in most apps. Like let me just give it a title so you know what I'm talking about. This is app bar. Okay, so this is the app bar, right? And this is the URL. Now, quickly, we just want to show this in a web view. So where is our web view? Just go to the documentation here. And you just need to call it like this, web view, and then provide the initial URL. So we are going to go over here in the container. We don't want to show the URL anymore. We just want to see it in a web view. Now, since I have like copy pasted from here, that is not imported. We want to import that, right? So the first thing is we have to make sure we have added it over here. Then you should just select it, click on this bulb icon and import. Okay, that will be there. Now we want to use this URL. We don't want to open a Flutter website. We just want to open what the website for that is. So I'm just going to say widget.url, save that, and just a second. If I go back, I guess we need to restart the application. Well, we need to add something called controller as well, which they doesn't seem to have mentioned. Let me just see if it works. We can give it a little bit of time. But one of the error which was there was that some URLs were HTTP, right? So the web view was not opening them. So That is one thing, but we need a controller to make sure this is visible. Let me just add that quick. So I'm just going to go over here at the top. I'm going to say final. I'm going to say completer. This is just the name. You don't have to. Very basically, what I'm saying is, okay, I don't want to import this. So what this completer is going to do once we like the web page is loaded, it will just show that. We can mention different things as well, like JavaScript and all. We want to load them or not, things like that. So let me just quickly do this. I'm going to say completer. We are going to say web view controller. Controller is equals to completer web view. I hope we have imported that. Okay. So why am I doing just a second? Okay, just a second. Let me just name it. Okay, it's fine. Now we have created this completer and we have to assign this to the web view which we have, right? So I'm just going to go over here to the web view, and inside that we have a option argument which is called on web view created. We are going to say web view controller, web view controller, and then we are going to say set state, right? Remember last time I mentioned set state is something which is going to update the UI once we have that. So that is the one which we are going to use. We are going to say controller dot complete web view controller. And if I will save this, go back, click on someone, wait for a second or so. I need to make sure that the one which we are clicking, it is actually HTTPS. This is actually, just a second, this is a apple cocktail. So I'm going to say apple. I'm going to click on that JSON. Okay, so the URL which it is providing is not actually HTTPS. Let me just add that function quick, and I don't want to delay further. So HTTPS is basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to just replace HTTP with HTTPS. As I mentioned you before, if we want to do something when the app, that particular widget loads for the first time, we use init state. So that's what I'm going to use. And I'm just going to create a quick function which is just going to convert the URL to HTTPS. I'm going to say widget dot post URL dot contains HTTPS. Now the best part about there are things which you can get confused about coding and all, but mostly a lot of things are just English, right? So you can understand what I'm saying over here is this widget dot the URL of this, which is actually called URL, contains HTTP, right? So if it contains, then what we want to do, what do I mean when it contains HTTP? If there was HTTPS, it will not follow this because it does not contain HTTP. It contains HTTPS. So we want to change that. So I'm just going to do that. Let me just create a variable. I'm going to call it final URL. Should create it over here. And I'm going to say final URL is equals to widget.url. Now I'm going to say final URL is equals to widget.url dot. What do I want to do? I want to just replace all the HTTP. Well, we are just going to have one, but wherever we have, and I want to remove that which HTTPS. That's all. I don't want to do quite a lot. I'm just going to copy that. And let me see if that is going to fix. Okay, so there are some setup requirements which we might have. Okay, so this requires the minimum XDK version to be 19. So let's just make sure we have that. You just need to go inside the Android folder and then build.gradle folder. And over there, you can see we have it minimum as 16. So let me update that. Anything else they are mentioning? Okay, so let's try that again. I'm going to click on one. Okay, I remember we need to actually restart the application for these kind of changes. Let's hope that fixes this. And let me just quickly run this application again. Running sometime can take a lot of time. Let me just okay, sir. I'm actually seeing the comments as well. So if you have any question, you can ask. Can we update the base color for material? Okay. We can actually change this white color as well. So whenever you run any of the Flutter application, you will see this white color for first, and we can actually change that. So let me just click on this for now. We haven't actually implemented that. That whatever we type, that is going to be shown. But let me just see. Okay, so we get the data for the Apple. I can click on any of the URL and hopefully it should work. Yeah, so as you can see, the web page has been loaded. Um, so it will be working for all of them. Just one last thing which I would do is get the details according to what we want, not just the Apple recipe only, right? We have other things as well at our home. So let me just I'm going to go inside this on tab, get. Okay, so let me just quickly create a text editing controller, and it is going to be called text editing controller. This is nothing but basically it is going to keep a track of whatever we are typing in, right? I'm going to provide that to our text field. I'm going to say controller. Where is it? Controller and text editing controller, and I'm going to just get the text from it. So I'm going to say, where is Apple? And I'm going to say dot, just make it like that. Basically what I have done is I have provided a controller. What the controller does is basically this is a text editing controller. So whenever you edit any of the text over here, it's going to be edited, and you according to the text which is available over there, we are going to search, right? So we are not going to search for Apple all the time. We are going to search for the different recipes which we want. So now we can test this. I'm going to just type here something like maybe banana. I am not able to find. Okay. So now we should be able to see something related to banana. Now there are a lot of UI updates which we can do, but for now let me just check if this is working. I guess the banana recipes are coming, but okay, so seems like they are being just added in the bottom. Okay, so one thing which is happening right now is all the details are now just adding and adding. We need to first remove everything which we have before we continue for the next query. So I'm going to just remove everything which we have and do it like this. So when I will click on it again, it is going to first clear the recipes and then show me. So now you can see we have banana recipes. Okay, so I guess that's for the API part. I hope you understand how we can fetch the details and all. And now I would like, if you have any questions, you can ask. And yeah, majorly API part and getting the data and showing is a bit done.
Okay, so I suppose everything is done now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so okay, so due to lack of time, I was not able to complete the UI part. So if you
Mhm.
yeah, if you want to like check the repository later on, like tonight or by tomorrow, I will update the UI part of the whole screen and we'll push the updates in the GitHub repository. You can check it out at Flutter Chandigarh GitHub repository. It is an organization, so you can check the repository at GitHub, and you will get the updated UI part of this API of this project because from time to time I will try to make the UI part fully.
Yeah. Also, like if you want, like I can like yeah, you can get that from there. We can share the link, I guess, to the email.
Yeah, you can mention it in the description part.
Okay. Yeah. Then that's good. Okay. So I guess now.
Okay, so thank you everyone for watching. So we will forward a quick feedback form by the end of tonight. So we should also want to know what are the points that we are lacking for our future upcoming events. So thanks so much for watching the stream. Thanks so much, guys.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.